Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome to Business Saturday. I'm Sonal Bhutra, and on to the top story. The Narendra Modi-led NDA government completes 4 years in office today. Multiple anniversary celebrations will take place around the country today, and the BJP will launch a 15-day program to highlight the government's achievements. The program will start tomorrow, and BJP ministers from both the centre and BJP-ruled states will reach out to leading personalities across the country and tell them about the achievement of the Modi government. PM Modi will also address a mega rally in Odisha at 4 p.m. today. And on the completion of 4 years of the NDA government, Prime Minister Modi tweeted, and I quote, "On this day in 2014, we began our journey of working towards India's transformation. Over the last 4 years, development has become a vibrant mass movement with every citizen feeling involved in India's growth trajectory. 125 crore Indians are taking India to great heights. I bow to my fellow citizens for their unwavering faith in our government. This support and affection is the biggest source of motivation and strength for the entire government. We will continue to serve the people of India with the same vigor and dedication. For us, it is always India first. With the best intent and complete integrity, we have taken futuristic and people-friendly decisions that are laying the foundation of a new India." And as the BJP celebrates the completion of 4 years of the Narendra Modi-led government, the Congress is observing the 4th anniversary of the NDA government as Vishwasghat Divas or Betrayal Day to highlight what the party describes as failures of the Modi government. The party will mark 4 years of the Modi government with protests in every district of the country. But let's now get a sense of how top experts view 4 years of the Modi government and the economic implications of his policies.
The central government fiscal deficit was reduced from 4.1 to 3.3. One would have expected it to have a faster rate of consolidation. But if you look at centre per state together, there hasn't really been any material consolidation over the last 3-4 years. It's sort of bounded at 6.5%, 7%, and this is despite oil coming off the boil at from 125 right out down to 25, and then slowly creeping up. So I would say that it's a mixed card. The central government has done some fiscal consolidation, but overall fiscal consolidation has been far from what should have been the case, particularly given the fact that we've had such a huge windfall gain coming out from lower oil prices, at least in the better part of the last 4 years.
There has been a positive effort also to bring down the fiscal deficit. This tendency has been there even earlier. But as you know, that we have been periodically shifting the date for bringing the fiscal deficit down to 3% of GDP as far as the central government is concerned. In general, there has been a desire to bring down the fiscal deficit, and that is reflected in the numbers also. But it is extremely important that we get as close as possible to the 3% of the GDP, which is the target level. And in some sense, it is going to be somewhat difficult against the background of the rising crude oil prices and our inability to cut the excise duty.
There's been a modest increase in buoyancy, and therefore I think it is sustainable. The key to looking forward is what you make of what will happen to GST in terms of improving the overall buoyancy of the economy. Obviously the recent increase in the number of taxpayers, however small their contribution to the tax base, by increasing the tax base sets the stage for a significant jump in buoyancy in future if complementary policies are kept okay.
Modi government's growth targets too ambitious, says renowned economist from China, Andy Zhai. Speaking to Shireen Bhan on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg Economic Summit, Andy Zhai also added that the pickup in Indian economy is not at par with the unrealistic ambition of the current regime. Here's an excerpt.
Let me turn our attention to India now, and you've been a long-time tracker of India. In fact, I remember reading, you said that 17 years ago the Indian government had invited you, asking you for advice on what it should do, and your advice was invest, invest, invest.
Right.
You know, today we're almost at the 4-year anniversary of the Modi government. How would you rate India?
Well, infrastructure investment has picked up some. I think that India is making progress. But the pickup is insufficient to meet the ambition that the Modi government has. The Modi government wants India to have a 10% growth rate, maybe and a double income like in 7 or 8 years and so.
You believe that that's not a realistic
I think that
aspiration or target?
I think you look at what China did after 1998. The ramp up in infrastructure was much quicker. You look at the highway, highway investment started in 1998. They started in like 1,500 kilometers per year, then built up very quickly to like 6,000 and 10,000 per year. That kind of scale is what India needs if you want the economy to become to have a 10% growth rate.
And moving on to the stocks that will be in focus on Monday, reacting to their fourth quarter earnings will be Tech Mahindra, Sun Pharma and Bank of Baroda. Bank of Baroda has reported an operationally weak quarter with a loss of 3,102 crore rupees, and the loss comes in higher than the street estimates due to the elevated slippages at 12,569 crores. Sun Pharma, on the other hand, delivered a strong operational performance, and it actually reported margins of 24% in the fourth quarter, and that is the best ever seen in FY18. Tech Mahindra too reported a strong performance in the fourth quarter. Revenue and margins, they came in higher than the estimates, and the tech major also reported a big beat on the profitability due to the component of higher other income. But market regulator SEBI has issued a notice to ICICI Bank in the Videocon loan case. The regulator's notice is based on the information provided by the bank and its MD and CEO on dealings between the bank and the Videocon group. Ritu Singh joins us with the details. Ritu, take us through the contents of the notice.
ICICI Bank has said that capital market regulator SEBI has started proceedings against the bank for non-disclosure of information on the alleged ICICI Bank and Videocon loan nexus. It said that it received a notice from SEBI on the 24th of May, which requires responses from the bank and its MD and CEO Chanda Kochar. In the notice, SEBI has asked for replies on alleged non-compliance with respect to listing agreements, also non-compliance with respect to SEBI disclosure regulations. The notice has been issued by SEBI on the basis of information that was shared by ICICI Bank in this Videocon case. In fact, the bank goes on to say that the MD and CEO has been asked for information with respect to dealings in the Videocon group and New Power Bank is both as well. The bank also said that it will be making appropriate responses to SEBI in due course.
Thanks, Ritu, for joining us and giving us all those details. But let's move on. Brent crude oil prices dropped below the $77 per barrel mark on the back of indications that the OPEC, along with Russia, were considering easing supply curbs later this year. Back home, however, senior government officials tell CNBC TV 18 that there is no easy solution to dousing the fuel fire. We learned that the government is still working on its plan to provide relief to consumers. Sapna Das joins us with some exclusive details. Sapna, what's the latest?
So after 5 days of almost consecutive price revisions upwards in terms of petroleum and diesel prices in the domestic market, what we understand is that, senior government officials are now saying that there is no easy solution to the oil price situation, and they are still waiting for some kind of a proposal or some kind of a view to be firmed up by Petroleum Ministry. Clarity will emerge only then that actually what are the options on the table for the government. Having said that, despite the somewhat softening of the global price, at the moment in the global markets of crude, the fact remains that a 6 to 12-month time frame will have to be taken by the government, because there could be price volatility and that may need to be contained or addressed at some point in time. So having said that, the options that so far that have been spoken about, the contribution of upstream and downstream companies probably, well, even that may not be easy, because any kind of a decision taken on that front will affect the company's ability to pay dividends to the exchequer, to the central government, and also their ability in terms of ramping up their capex. That will take a direct hit. Anything that the government does in terms of duties, of course, that will impact the fisc directly. So no easy solutions here. Still awaiting some kind of a proposal from the Petroleum Ministry. Also, let's keep in mind what is happening globally in terms of the price trend. If that continues for some time, for all you know, the government may actually decide not to take any measures. And if that happens, then for all you know, the retail prices where they have reached right now may actually stabilize at that level, possibly not come down immediately, because OMCs will take some time to take a call again. And because those prices can only come down now if the government goes ahead with an excise duty cut. And as I've just mentioned, there is nothing on the table so far. These are just options being spoken about. The proposal has yet to concretize.
Well, definitely keeping an eye on the fuel prices, but let's move on to the latest in the NSE versus the SGX case. The Bombay High Court today heard the dispute between the two exchanges over new derivative products. Yash Jain, who has been tracking this case closely, joins us now on the phone. Yash, what is the latest?
Well, Sonal, yet again, both NSE and SGX failed to arrive at a consensus with respect to the arbitration terms on the dispute around the launch of SGX India Futures and Options. Remember, late last night, SGX moved an application before the Bombay High Court to hear the matter today, but both parties again today failed to arrive at any sort of consensus before the court on these arbitration terms. Now, what are these arbitration terms? First one is to agree on a mutual arbitrator in the form of Justice Vasisthar and decide on the arbitration timeline. Remember, this would be very important because SGX has expressed the intention to launch its new product, which is India Futures and Options, on June 4th. So the arbitration timeline becomes very important, as it will have to be completed before that, or this June 4th date will have to be extended later on. The second term here is that SGX will be mandated to put Bombay High Court's injunction order against the company on its website, its marketing material, as well as the investor agreement which it signs for this particular new product. The last one is that SGX should stay its April circular, which essentially intimated the investors on the launch of this new product, which is India Futures and Options. Now, the matter is scheduled to be heard on May 31st, where SGX, if it agrees to the arbitration terms, then a time-bound arbitration process would begin, and if they don't agree, then the case would be heard on the merits by the Bombay High Court.
Thanks a lot for that, Yash. And yes, we'll keep coming back to you for more details. But with the resolution of Bhushan Steel under IBC, it is the beginning of a new era for the banking sector. And that's the word coming in from former...
Surely, I do think that it's at long last sort of beginning to crystallize. And we have to understand that this is a new law. So, you know, it's going to be tested. Plus, you also must understand that these are valuable assets. So nobody is sort of going to give up without a fight. And however, you know, the good thing is that most of the cases where it has gone to the courts have been very prompt, and they have given very well-reasoned judgments. That's very important, because then the case laws are framed, and then, you know, subsequently anybody comes with the same kind of issue, it's much easier to resolve. Even where investments are very low, credit growth is very low, still if you look around, you will see many sectors doing very, very well. So, you know, if you consider the commercial vehicle sector, if you consider aviation sector, if you consider the sheer number of tourist arrivals and the usage of the airports. You know, I was told the other day, Mumbai airport is handling more than 980 flights on a daily basis. So, you know, if you look at all of these numbers, you can understand that there is a momentum in the country. And that is slowly now, you know, beginning to have its impact on our other numbers. So I think, you know, it's a good thing that has happened, and we'll hope for many more resolutions in the next few months.
Okay, but I mean, the big fear, since I was a reporter and a cub reporter in '93 when the DRT Act was passed, and a more seasoned reporter in 2003 when SARFAESI was passed. Even now, there are 4,000 cases and only 2,000 are being heard in the 12 NCLTs. Is there a fear that this might get overwhelmed under the weight of cases?
See, there is no doubt about the fact that you need to create the kind of bandwidth that will enable these cases to be heard and heard quickly and resolved. So there is no doubt about that at all. And in fact, I think I would say that it's the media's job to keep tracking this so that nobody forgets about it, that it doesn't sort of, get onto the back burner and people start disregarding it as we have the delays in the regular courts.
And moving on to the globe, the US market ended mixed on Friday following Trump's decision to cancel the June 12th summit with North Korea. The Dow was down close to 60 points, while the S&P 500 was down by around 0.25%. The Nasdaq, however, slightly outperformed, closing just above the flat line. CNBC's Hampton Pearson gives us a wrap of all that took place on the Wall Street.
For CNBC TV 18, I'm Hampton Pearson. U.S. stocks ending the day mixed. The Dow down 58 points, the S&P off 6, the Nasdaq up by 9 points. Gas prices are at their highest level in about 4 years, roughly 60 cents above the levels this time last year. But the cost at the pump could soon peak due to seasonal factors, ample stockpiles, and forecasts for an average hurricane season. Fiat Chrysler recalling nearly 5 million vehicles today, saying a potential defect could leave drivers unable to turn off cruise control in certain situations. The recall, among the largest in U.S. history, covers 14 Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, and Dodge models built between 2014 and 2018. Elsewhere, CEOs at the biggest public companies got an 8.5% pay raise last year, bringing the median pay package for CEOs to $11.7 million. The typical CEO made 164 times the median pay of their employees. That's according to an analysis by Equilar done for the Associated Press. That's the action from the U.S. markets. Back to you in Mumbai.
President Donald Trump says his administration has restarted talks with North Korea. Remember, Trump had cancelled a historic planned summit in Singapore with North Korea's Kim Jong on Thursday. Trump now indicated that the June 12th summit in Singapore could still happen.
We'll see what happens. It could even be the 12th. We're talking to them now. They very much want to do it. We'd like to do it. We're going to see what happens.
And in the world of commodities, oil prices fell on Friday after influential analysts said a group of 24 producer nations could soon begin easing the production limits they put in place last year to drain a global crude glut. And it is a crucial day in Ireland as the results will be declared on a landmark referendum. Voters in Ireland cast their ballots yesterday to decide whether to remove a constitutional amendment that bans abortion in almost all circumstances. If the Yes campaign wins, then the law will allow for terminations in the first 12 weeks of pregnancy. Sanjay Suri, who has been tracking the story closely, filed this report.
Counting of votes across Ireland is due to begin a little later this morning, which would be about early afternoon Indian time. Given that there are only about 3.2 million registered voters, only by Indian standards, the results should be out fairly soon after the counting of votes begins to tell us just how much of a Catholic country Ireland still is or how much less it may have become. The result will be critical also for Prime Minister Leo Varadkar. Leo Varadkar is the son of Dr. Ashok Varadkar, an Indian doctor from Mumbai who moved to Britain and then to Ireland. Leo Varadkar is now at the top of the ladder in government in Ireland as Prime Minister. It is he who called the referendum, and the result will be an indication of the extent of support, or as he would like it no doubt, a vindication of the extent of support for his position. That is to say yes to the right to abortion.
Well, let's talk cricket. And Sunrisers Hyderabad defeat Kolkata Knight Riders in the IPL eliminator by 13 runs. Will face CSK in the final on Sunday. Rashid Khan's sensational all-round performance powered Sunrisers Hyderabad into the IPL final as they beat Kolkata Knight Riders in the eliminator by 13 runs. Hyderabad successfully defended 175 runs to make it to their second final in the history of the Indian Premier League. Earlier, Vridman Saha's cautious 35 followed by by Rashid Khan's late blitz of 35 runs helped Hyderabad post a total of 174 in their 20 overs. Once again, it was Hyderabad's vicious bowling attack that proved to be the difference between the two sides. Rashid Khan's spell of 3 wickets for 19 runs derailed Kolkata's chase. Hyderabad will now take on Chennai in the IPL Final. But that's all time we have on the show. Thanks for watching CNBC TV 18.